embodied the great hope of the Polish nation to fully liberate from imposed protection of foreign powers. Moreover, one of the key principles of the Constitution was to unite the interests of various communities and nations which compose the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The Constitution enshrines among its provisions the tolerance and freedom of religion, separated legislative, executive, and judiciary branches of power, granted the civil liberties and protection to all citizens. It was first modern constitution promulgated in Europe, and historians regarded it as the most progressive after the United States Constitution at that time. The Constitution itself and the reforms and modern political system which it creates was instantly treated as a challenge to absolute monarchs of neighboring countries, mainly the Russian Catherine the Great. Ideas like liberty, equality, and self-determination of nation were posing grave threat in minds of absolute monarchs. It led to military intervention as the Russian army entered Polish and Lithuanian territory in 1792. Sadly, we can observe the same instincts and modus operandi nowadays when free, democratic, and independent Ukraine is seen as a threat to corrupt, undemocratic, and unlawful regime in Putin Russia. When attacked, Poles jointly with other nations of Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth were ready to say proverbial no to brutal monarchs from Russia, Prussia, and Austria. In 1794, after the two-partition of Poland, Tadeusz Kościuszko, famous Polish general who also fought for the independence of the United States of America, inspired the nation to take up armed resistance and overthrow Russian and Prussian armies from Polish land. However, military might of much powerful neighboring monarchs proved to be obstacle. In 1795, Poland was partitioned for the third time and lost in independence for long 123 years. Our sometimes painful history has taught us that the independence and freedom cannot be taken for granted. We know that often there is a high price which has to be paid for those fundamental values. Hence, we cherish the importance of cooperation of nations which shares the same democratic values. Our allies in NATO and partners in European Union. Those strong links among the nations are often firmly based on common history, which needs to be preserved and shown for the new generation. The history of Polish pilots who fought against Nazis along their fellow British airmen constituent one of the components of our current cooperation. Today, I will have a pleasure and privilege to hand out Benemerito medals awarded by the Minister of Foreign Affairs to our two distinguished British friends, Mr. Geoff Barton and Mr. Brendan Pitcher, who are passionate in documenting and restoring former RAF base in Ingham in Lincolnshire, where Polish bomber squadrons stationed during the Second World War. Due to their enormous and tireless work, thousands of residents and visitors of this island had a chance to learn about our shared history. But before that, mindful of the fact that we celebrate our Constitutional Day in crucial time in the history of Europe, when we daily witness the atrocities and war crimes committed by Russian forces in Ukraine, I would like to all our guests to join us in a minute of silence for all the victims of Russian aggression.